She said, "You are being annoying," while I was hugging her. I replied, "Okay, I'll give you space." Then I cut contacts, focused on my life, thrived quietly, and a few weeks later, she missed the warmth I once gave her. We were standing in the kitchen. Tuesday night. Nothing dramatic. I'd just come up behind her while she was scrolling on her phone and wrapped my arms around her waist. The same way I had 100 times before. The same way she used to lean back into without thinking. She said it like she was swatting a fly. "You're being annoying." This time she stiffened. I laughed a little, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. "I'm serious," she added, shrugging me off. "You're being clingy." That word landed harder than I expected. Quick background. I'm Alex, 29M. She's Jenna, 27F. We'd been together a little over 3 years, living together for one. From the outside, we were that stable couple. Same routines, same friends, same plans everyone assumes are permanent. I stepped back, hands up like I'd crossed some invisible line. "Okay," I said. "I'll give you space." I meant it in the moment. I didn't argue. I didn't ask what I did wrong. I didn't defend myself. She nodded, already back on her phone, crisis solved in her mind. "Thank you," she said, distracted. "I just need less intensity." That was it. No follow-up. No conversation. Later that night, she went to bed early without saying goodnight. I stayed up on the couch, staring at the muted TV, replaying that sentence over and over. "You're being annoying." Not cruel enough to cause a fight. Just dismissive enough to make you question your place. Looking back, that was the moment. Not when she said it, but when I felt something in me quietly switch off. The next morning, I didn't kiss her goodbye. I didn't text her during the day. I didn't ask how her meeting went. Not out of spite. I was just honoring her request. Space. She didn't notice. At least not yet. By the end of that week, I'd stopped trying entirely. No good morning texts. No check-ins. No small touches as we passed in the hallway. I focused on work, started going to the gym again, reconnected with friends I'd slowly drifted from. She called it finally calming down. I called it stepping back. She thought it was temporary. I already knew it wasn't. The funny thing about giving someone space is how quickly they get used to taking it. Jenna didn't ask if something was wrong. She didn't pull me aside or say, "Hey, you've been quiet." She just expanded into the silence. Took it as proof that I'd finally learned my lesson. I started waking up earlier. Not to avoid her, just because I could. I'd make coffee, read, go for a run before work. When she stumbled into the kitchen half awake, she'd blink at the empty mug in the sink like it surprised her. "You didn't make extra?" she asked once. I shrugged. "Didn't know if you wanted any." She rolled her eyes. "You're weird lately." I almost laughed. Lately. At work, things shifted fast. I stopped rushing out the door at 5 to make it home on time. I stayed late. Took on a project I'd been putting off because it required more focus than I'd had energy for. My boss noticed. Complimented me. Put my name forward for something better. At the gym, I went from just staying active to training seriously again. Muscle memory kicked in. So did confidence I hadn't realized I'd misplaced somewhere between couples' routines and quiet compromises. Meanwhile, Jenna filled the extra space with herself. More nights out. Longer showers. Phone always face down when she sat next to me. She talked at me, not to me. Complaints about coworkers, gossip about friends, little jabs disguised as jokes. "You're so low energy now," she said one night while scrolling. "I liked you better when you were more present." I looked at her and realized something strange. I didn't feel defensive. "I'm just matching the vibe," I said. She snorted. "Whatever that means." That weekend, I didn't ask what her plans were. Didn't wait around. I met up with friends, the kind I used to cancel on without thinking. We laughed. We stayed out late. Nobody made me feel like my presence was an inconvenience. When I came home, she was already asleep. No text. No check-in. No "where are you?" And that's when it hit me. She didn't miss me yet because she hadn't lost me yet. She still thought I was there, just quieter, more manageable, less annoying. She had no idea I was already halfway gone. The first crack showed up about 2 weeks later. It was small, almost unnoticeable if you weren't looking for it. She came home from work in a bad mood. Keys thrown on the counter, shoes kicked off instead of lined up like she usually did. I was at the table answering emails, already changed into gym clothes. "You're not cooking?" she asked. I glanced up. I already ate. Her eyebrows pulled together. "Without me?" I nodded. "You said you were working late." She huffed. "So? You couldn't wait?" That was new. For months, she'd been annoyed when I did wait. When I'd ask. When I tried to plan around her schedule. I didn't think it mattered, I said honestly. She stared at me for a second, like she was trying to locate the right version of me in her head. The one who used to apologize. The one who'd scramble to fix the vibe. Well, it does, she snapped. It's weird eating alone. I almost said you asked for space. Instead, I just went back to my laptop. That's when the questions started. Not real concern, more like inventory checks. You working late again tomorrow? Why are you always at the gym now? Who are you texting? Each one delivered casually, like she didn't care, but her eyes stayed on my face a little too long. One night, she reached for me on the couch. Not affectionately, more like testing if the button still worked. I didn't pull away, but I didn't lean in either. Are you mad at me? She asked. No, I said, which was true. I wasn't mad. I was past that. She frowned. Then why do you feel different? I thought about telling her. About explaining how one sentence can change how safe you feel reaching for someone. How being called annoying rewires something quietly, but permanently. Instead, I said, I'm just focusing on myself lately. She laughed, sharp and dismissive. Don't get all self-help on me. But later that night, I noticed she scooted closer in bed. Her leg hooked around mine like it used to. A move she hadn't done in months. She fell asleep like that. I lay there awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing something important. She wasn't missing me. She was missing the way I used to make her feel without asking for anything back. And she was starting to feel the cold where that warmth used to be. A few weeks in, she started doing this thing where she'd hover. Not obviously. Not in a way she could be called out on. Just lingering. Standing in doorways while I tied my shoes. Sitting on the bed scrolling while I folded laundry. Asking half questions and pretending they weren't questions. Going somewhere. Seeing people from work? Back late. I answered politely. Briefly. Never volunteered extra information. It drove her nuts. One night, she tried to pick a fight. I could feel it coming the moment she walked in. Energy sharp, voice already edged. You don't touch me anymore, she said, arms crossed. I looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't hurt. She was annoyed. Like a service she paid for had been downgraded without notice. You told me I was being annoying, I said calmly. I figured I'd dial it back. That was one comment, she snapped. You're acting like I told you to disappear. I shrugged. You asked for space. I didn't mean this much space. There it was. Not too little. Not too much. Just enough that she still felt wanted without feeling responsible for how she treated me. I'm comfortable, I said. Are you? She didn't answer. She turned away, muttering something about me being dramatic. But later that night, I caught her watching me from the bathroom doorway while I brushed my teeth. Her expression wasn't angry. It was unsettled. A few days after that, she texted me in the middle of the workday. Do you still love me? I stared at my phone for a long time. A month ago, I would have reassured her immediately. Paragraphs. Emojis. Inside jokes. Now I typed 3 words. I care about you. She didn't reply for hours. When she finally did, it was a single message. That's not the same. No, it wasn't. Because love requires warmth, and warmth doesn't survive being treated like a nuisance. She started being nicer after that. Compliments. Random hugs. A laugh that sounded rehearsed. Like she was trying to recreate something without understanding why it had faded. She thought she could rewind. She didn't realize the moment she called me annoying, I'd already stopped reaching. And once someone stops reaching, the distance only grows, no matter how close you stand. The shift from annoyance to anxiety happened quietly. She started waiting up for me. Not every night. Just often enough to feel intentional. I'd come home from the gym or a late dinner with friends and find her on the couch, TV paused, phone in her hand, like she'd been pretending not to check the time. Oh, she'd say. You're back. Yeah. How was it? Good. That was the whole exchange. And every time, her jaw tightened a little more. One night she finally snapped. You don't tell me anything anymore, she said. I feel like I don't even know what's going on in your life. I leaned against the counter, calm. You never asked before. You just talked over me. That's not fair, she shot back. It is, I said. No anger. Just fact. She opened her mouth, closed it, then changed tactics. You've been happier lately, she said slowly. Like, without me. That one landed. Not because it hurt, but because she was right. I didn't deny it. I'm happier taking care of myself, I said. That's not an attack. She scoffed. So now I'm the problem? I didn't say that. But you're acting like you don't need me. I almost laughed again. Almost. I don't need permission to exist, I said. And I don't need to earn affection. She went quiet after that. Too quiet. The next week, she tried harder. Cooked dinner. Suggested date night. Reached for my hand in public. All the things she'd slowly stopped doing once she was sure I wasn't going anywhere. The difference was, I noticed the effort, but I didn't feel pulled back in by it. Because effort without accountability feels hollow. One night, curled up next to me, she whispered, "I miss how close we used to be." I stared at the dark ceiling and realized the truth had finally sharpened. She didn't miss me. She missed access. She missed being adored without being gentle, being prioritized without being kind, being chosen without choosing back. And I knew then, no matter what she did next, there was no way back to the version of me who hugged her freely. That guy was gone, and she was starting to panic because she could feel the warmth leaving, even while I was still right there. The first time she really noticed I was gone was the night she reached for me, and I didn't respond. Not dramatically. No rejection. I was sitting on the edge of the bed scrolling through emails, and she slid her arms around my waist from behind. The old move. The one that used to melt me. I stayed still. "You okay?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." She didn't let go right away. That was new. She rested her cheek against my back like she was waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. She pulled away slowly. "You don't touch me anymore." I turned to face her. "I'm respecting the space you wanted." Her face tightened. I didn't mean emotional distance. I meant balance. Balance. Another word people use when they realize they pushed too far but don't want to own it. That night, she cried quietly in the bathroom. I heard it through the door. Not sobbing, controlled. Strategic. The kind of crying meant to be discovered. I didn't get up. The next morning, she was extra sweet. Compliments. Coffee made exactly how I like it. A kiss on the cheek before work. "Text me today," she said softly. "I'll see," I replied. That answer haunted her. Over the next few days, her tone shifted from irritation to insecurity. She asked more questions. Checked my location by accident. Started saying "we" again in conversations where she hadn't used it in months. One night she blurted out, "You're not thinking of leaving, are you?" I looked at her for a long moment. "I'm thinking," I said. That was the breaking point. Her eyes widened. "About what?" "About how I feel when I'm with you," I said. "And how I feel when I'm not." She laughed nervously. "You're being dramatic." "Maybe. But drama fades. Clarity doesn't." That week, I stopped sleeping in the bed entirely. Not because I was angry, because it felt dishonest to lie next to someone who only wanted me back once I was halfway gone. She started missing the warmth she'd dismissed. The irony was cruel. She wanted the version of me she'd already taught to disappear, and I wasn't coming back. By the time she actually said it out loud, it was already too late. "I feel like I'm losing you," Jenna said one night, sitting on the opposite end of the couch like the distance itself was an accusation. I didn't answer right away. The TV was on, but neither of us was watching. I muted it and turned to her. "You didn't lose me," I said. "You let go." Her mouth opened, ready to argue, then closed again. She looked smaller in that moment. Not fragile, uncertain. "That's not fair," she said. "I didn't do anything that bad." That sentence told me everything. To her, it was a scale. One comment, one shrug, one moment of dismissal. Nothing catastrophic. Nothing worth consequences this big. But relationships don't break from explosions. They erode. "I told you how that made me feel," I said. "And you minimized it." "I didn't think you'd take it this far," she snapped. There it was. Not "I didn't mean to hurt you." Just "I didn't think you'd react." I stood up. "That's the problem." She followed me into the kitchen, voice rising. "So what? You're punishing me now? You're just withdrawing until I behave." I shook my head. "I'm not punishing you. I'm choosing myself." She laughed bitterly. "God, you've changed." "No," I said quietly. I stopped overextending. That night, she slept with her back to me. In the morning, she was gone before I woke up. No text. No note. But later that day, my phone buzzed. "I miss you." Not "I'm sorry." Not "I get it now." Just "I miss you." I stared at the message, then locked my phone and went back to work. That was the moment I realized something final. She didn't miss how she treated me. She missed how safe it felt knowing I'd always be there, no matter what she said. And once that illusion cracked, there was nothing left to save. The real silence started after that. Not the passive kind where you still share space. The heavier one, where everything meaningful has already been said, and what's left is just habit waiting to die. I stopped initiating anything. Conversations. Plans. Reassurance. I moved my clothes into the guest room without announcing it. She noticed, of course. "You're really doing this?" she asked, standing in the doorway. "I'm simplifying," I said. She scoffed. "You're acting like I cheated on you or something." I looked up. "You don't have to cheat to make someone feel unwanted." That shut her up. A few days later, she tried a different approach. Vulnerable voice. Soft eyes. Sat next to me like she used to in the beginning. I didn't realize how cold I'd gotten, she said. I thought we were just comfortable. Comfortable. Another word people use when effort stops feeling necessary. I never meant to push you away, she added. I know, I said. And I did. That was the worst part. She reached for my hand. I let her hold it, but there was nothing in it. No spark. No grounding warmth. Just skin. Her voice cracked. Can we fix this? I thought about the nights I'd lain awake feeling like a burden. About shrinking myself so I wouldn't be too much. About learning not to reach for the person I loved because I didn't want to be annoying. No, I said quietly. We can't fix what you didn't notice breaking. She pulled her hand back like she'd been burned. Over the next week, she unraveled. Texts during the day, checking in constantly, telling me she loved me, something she hadn't said unprompted in months. It didn't move me, because love that arrives after consequence isn't love, it's fear. She was finally feeling the absence of something she assumed was permanent, and I was already living without it. The breakup itself wasn't loud. No screaming, no slammed doors, no dramatic last words she could twist later into a story where she was the victim. It happened on a quiet Thursday night. She was sitting at the table, phone face down for once, fingers wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched. I was standing across from her, keys in my hand, not packed bags yet, just keys. The symbol came before the action. So that's it, she asked. Her voice was steady, but her eyes weren't. You're just done? I nodded. Yeah. She swallowed. After everything we've been through? I thought about answering that honestly. About listing the small cuts. The dismissals. The moment she called my affection annoying like it was an inconvenience. Instead, I said, because of it. She laughed weakly. You're really throwing this away because of one sentence. No, I said. I'm leaving because of how easy it was for you to say it, and how hard it was for you to notice what it did. She stood up fast, chair scraping the floor. I said I was sorry. You said you missed me, I replied. Those aren't the same. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Final. So what now, she asked. I'm moving out this weekend, I said. I'll give you time to process. But I'm not changing my mind. That's when it hit her. Not emotionally, logistically. Her voice cracked. You can't just disappear. I looked at her calm. I already did. You just didn't feel it until now. She didn't cry then. She just stared at me like she was seeing a stranger wearing my face. I left that night. Slept on a friend's couch. Turned my phone off. And for the first time in a long time, the silence felt peaceful. A few weeks later, my life looked quieter, but fuller. New apartment. Smaller. Cleaner. Everything in it chosen on purpose. I fell into routines that belonged only to me. Early mornings. Consistent workouts. Late dinners with friends who didn't make me feel like an obligation. I didn't post about it. I didn't announce anything. I just lived. That's when her name started popping up again. First as a hey. Then a hope you're doing well. Then a late night message that read, I miss the way you used to hold me. I didn't reply. A mutual friend mentioned she'd been talking about me a lot. How I'd changed. How she didn't realize what she had until it was gone. How she missed the warmth. The steadiness. The way I made her feel safe without asking for anything back. That part stung, not because it hurt, but because it confirmed everything. She missed the version of me that absorbed her indifference quietly. She missed the man who reached first, apologized first, loved loudly, and accepted crumbs in return. That man doesn't exist anymore. The last message she sent was simple. I get it now. I stared at it for a long time before finally typing back. I needed you to get it when it mattered. Then I muted the conversation and put my phone down. Some lessons arrive too late to change the outcome. And sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away, not angrily, not dramatically, but permanently. I did, and I never looked back.